Okay, a Freilich and Chanukah, everyone. We're sponsored by Shalom Foglu, the Nishmas Yaakov Zeb ben Yud Aryeh, Rivka Bas Yaakov Yosef, Tzivya Miriam Bas Gad, Yosef ben Tzim ben Yaakov Zeb, Elfu Shalema for Moshe Ari ben Miriam, and for a great Shidduch for Chaya Tzivya Bas Shoshana Gittel. We're sponsored by Baruch Ian, Lili Nishmas Yaakov Chaya ben Abba, Esther Bas Yona, Avram ben Shmuel HaKoyin, Elfu Shalema for Liba Bas Anya. We're sponsored by A.B. Spry. We're sponsored for the spiritual, emotional, and physical protection for Yeshua Menachem Mendel ben Beila Shein Rivka. We're sponsored by Berish Gesem and for Shoshana Basadina Chana, and by Mark Frankel in loving memory of Yisrael Tzvi ben Chaim Yeshua Falak. We're holding 4 lines from the bottom of Tzadi Amid Beis. Ibayilahu Tadir u'mekudish ezimem kodim. That which is more frequent and that which is more holy. Like, for example, the dam of the oila or the dam of a chatas. The dam of an oila is more frequent, 365 days a year. The dam of a chatas, which is put on 4 corners, is more holy. So, which one comes first? Do we say tadir koydem mishum de tadir? The dam of the oila comes first because it's more frequent. Or perhaps the mekudish kodim, the dam of the chatas, comes first because it's the kaddish, it's more holy. So Tajma, we learned in the Mishnah, Tamidim koydmen musafim, that the Tamidim come before the Musaf of Shabbos. Even though the Musaf is more holy, because the Musaf is a carbon of Shabbos, which is more holy. Says the Gemara, yeah, but the Talmud on Shabbos is also more holy, because it's the Talmud of Shabbos. Atu Shabbos l'besafin ahanoi. Does the Shabbos only make the Musaf more holy? The Tamidim loyani. Does it not make the Talmud of Shabbos also more holy? So you can't say the Musaf is more holy. Tajma, Musvei Shabbos koydem l'musvei Reish Chodesh. That if Shabbos falls out on Reish Chodesh, like next week, right? Reish Chodesh Tevis is going to be on Shabbos. So if Shabbos falls out on Reish Chodesh, so we know that the Musaf of Shabbos comes before the Musaf of Reish Chodesh. So says the Gemara, but why? Reish Chodesh is Ikrei Mayit. So it has an extra holiness that it's Ikrei Mayit. So why don't we say that the Musaf of Reish Chodesh should be first? So the Gemara says, but you think that the fact that it's Reish Chodesh only affects the Musaf. The fact that it's Reish Chodesh also affects the Tadir, making the Tadir more special. After Reish Chodesh l'musafin didei ahane, it only helps for its Musaf. L'musafei Shabbos, for the Musaf of Shabbos loyahane. The Musaf of Shabbos is also more holy because it's on Reish Chodesh, and that's why, since the Musaf of Shabbos has also the fact that it's Reish Chodesh and the fact that it's more Tadir, that's why it comes first. But where it's simply a case of Tadir v'Kaddish, we don't know. Tajma, Musvei Reish Chodesh koydmen l'musvei Rosh Hashanah. Right? Rosh Hashanah is also Reish Chodesh Tishrei. So you have to bring a Musaf for Reish Chodesh and also a Musaf for Rosh Hashanah. So he said the Reish Chodesh comes first because it's more Tadir. But Rosh Hashanah is more holy. It's the Yom Adin. Says, Afagav the Rosh Hashanah Kadesha. Says the Gemara, yes, but again the same thing. The Musaf of Reish Chodesh Tishrei is holier also because it is on Rosh Hashanah. Does Rosh Hashanah only boost up its Musaf? The Musaf Reish Chodesh le'ahani, it doesn't boost up also the fact that it's Rosh Hashanah, Reish Chodesh on Rosh Hashanah. Its Musaf is also special. So therefore they're both special, and the additional fact is that the Musaf of Reish Chodesh is more frequent because it's 12 times a year. Tajma. Davar Achar, Why do we make the Borei Pri Hagafen in Kiddush Friday night before the bracha of Kiddush? Davaracha birchas hayayin tedira. The bracha on the wine is more frequent. Ubirchas hayayim eina tedira. The bracha of Kiddush is only once a week. V'tadir v'sheina tadir tadir kaidem. Even though the bracha of Kiddush is more holy because it's a bracha of Shabbos. Aval gav the birchas hayayim kedesha. So again, the Gemara says Shabbos doesn't only make the bracha of Kiddush more special, it makes the Borei Pri Hagafen also more special. Shabbos only boosts up the bracha of Kiddush, it doesn't make more choshev the Borei Pri Hagafen, and therefore because of that, we have both the fact that it's holy and also the fact that it is more frequent. Tajma, and as we welcome in Barry Cement, we are starting the first wide line of Daf Tzadik Aleph. Tzadik Aleph, by the way, is B'Gematria Amen. It's B'Gematria Malach. It's B'Gematria Sukkah. It's B'Gematria Tzei. But we're not telling anybody to leave. Tajma, Damar Rabbi Yochanan. This is an interesting halacha. If, for example, on Yom Tov, it comes the time to daven mincha, and you didn't daven musaf yet, so then you daven mincha first, and then musaf, because tadir v'sheina tadir kainim. Tajmad, Rabbi Yochanan halacha, once the zman mincha arrives, if Marshall didn't daven musaf yet, because he was by the Kiddush club, and he didn't daven musaf yet, so halacha mispal adam shel mincha. First he davens mincha, v'achkach b'shel musafim, because the mincha is tada, you do it every day. But the musaf is more holy because it's a tefillah of Yom Tov. So again, Gemara answers the same idea. Atu Shabbos l'tfilas musafin ahanoi. Does Shabbos only make its musaf special? But tefillas mincha lo yahanoi, it doesn't have to be Yom Tov, it could be Shabbos, right? Tefillas mincha lo yahanoi, doesn't it make the mincha also special? And therefore they're both special, and the mincha comes first because it's more tadir. Tajma. Now this is a very interesting case. Shlamim shel emesh. If you had yesterday's shlamim, and chatas v'oshim shel yain, and the chatas and the guilt offering of today. So shlamim shel emesh kaidmin. We said yesterday's shlamim comes first. That's because its time is running out. Its time is running out by shkia. While the chatas and the oshim, you have the night till chatzais to eat. So therefore the shlamim comes first. But if they're both the same day, the shlamim and the chatas and ashim are both the same day, so then we would say the chatas and the ashim come first. Chatas or ashim kadmei. Even though the shlamim is more frequent. It's much more frequent to be shlamim. V'afagav the shlamim tadir, tedire. Shlamim is much more frequent because it's brought voluntarily. Chatas and Anashim is only when Marshall is Mechal Shabbos, or he's with a Shifcha Charufa. But otherwise, Shlamim you could bring any time. So now the Gemara takes out the Talmudic scalpel, not to use on Marshall, but the Talmudic scalpel, and makes a very, very subtle difference between Tadir and Motzi. Tadir means that which has to be done more frequently. Motzi means it's more often, but it doesn't have to be more often. You don't have to offer the shlamim more often. Just happens to be more often because people bring more voluntary offerings. That's not Tadir. Tadir is it has to be more often, like the carbon tamid, which has to be every day, right? The musaf of Rosh Chodesh that has to be every month. So Amar Rava Matzi Ka'amrit. Often you're talking about? Tadir Kamabaylan. We're talking about when it has to be done more frequently. Matzi, the fact that Shlamim is more often, like Kamabaylan. Says the Gemara, is there such a distinction? Amalei Rav Huna bar Yehuda l'Rava atum matzi lav tadir. The fact that something is more often is not considered a frequency. Vatanya, you see, if you do an iser kares b'shoigeg, you have to bring a chatas. If you eat chaylev, if you eat dam, if somebody sleeps with a sister, if they're mechal Shabbos, there are two positive iserei kares. And that is if you don't do Mila, and if you don't bring the Korban Pesach. There's no Chatas if you did that unwittingly. Now the reason is because there's only a Chatas by a lav, not by not fulfilling a positive commandment. But the Gemara says there's a miyut, Vatanya, there's a miyut that for one of the mitzvahs I say, you're not chayav chatas if you don't do the positive act. And the Gemara suggests, Vatanya oitzi as a Pesach, I would exclude a Pesach if you don't do it from a chatas, she'ein tadir, because it's not often. V'loy oitzi as a mila, and I'm not going to exclude mila, shehi tadira, it's more often. But it's not that you have to do tadira, mila more often, you only do mila once a life. So what does it mean? It's just more often because there are more people that do Mila throughout the year. So you see that Motzi is considered Tadir. Says Gemara, no, when it says Tadira over here, it means something else. It means that it's mentioned frequently in the Torah. There's 13 times the Torah says the covenant of the Mila. My Tadira b'mitzvahs, it's mentioned 13 times. Since it's much more often, there's in the world there's hundreds of milas every day. That's kitadudami. That's considered like real frequency. Now, the Gemara declares another shayla, very interesting shayla. Ibaylahu tadir v'she'enoi tadir. You have the tamid which is frequent, and you have the chatas which is not frequent. V'kodem v'shachat l'she'ena tadir. And the kohen makes a mistake, and he shechts the chatas first. You know what? Let's not say the tamid, because the tamid is a special rule. But let's say. All right, we're not going to get into it. Let's say the Tamid and the Chatas. So he makes a mistake and he shechts the Chatas first. He was supposed to shech the Tamid first because it's more frequent, but he shechts the Chatas first. Now what does he do? Do we say, once you shechted it, finish it off, put the blood on the Mizbeach, smoke it up, and then go to the Tamid? Or do we say, no, you made a mistake, you shechted it. Now, the kohen that catches the blood, let him mix it so it doesn't congeal. Go back to the Tamid, do the Tamid, which is more tadir, and then come back. Says the Gemara, mi amrina kevin the shach. Once you started the chatas already, makrivle, offer it and finish it. And the idea why we would do that is because ein mavirin ala mitzvahs. Once you're doing a mitzvah, ein mavirin ala mitzvahs. Oy dilma, or perhaps, no. You made a mistake. Now, Yov la'achar, Marshall made a mistake. Yov la'achar de memareis b'damai. Let Marshall give Shalom the bowl of blood. Let him mix it, and it shouldn't congeal. Ad the mikra v'leila tadir. Let him do the tamid, which is more frequent. V'had the makra v'shein tadir, and then come back and finish the chatas. So Amar Rav Huna Misura Tajma. Now here, The Gemara is going to be learning this differently than when we learned in the Mishnah. Shlamim shel emesh, a shlamim of yesterday. You had a shlamim of Monday, and v'chatas v'oshim shel yom, and a sin offering and a guilt offering of Tuesday. Shel emesh kaidem l'shel yom. Monday's offering comes before the chatas and the oshim of Tuesday. Now, the way the Gemara is going to learn over here is that what happened is Marshall brought a shlamim to the Beis Hamikdash on Monday, and then on Tuesday, Marshall messed up and shechted the shlamim before the chatas and the oshim, which you're not supposed to do, because the chatas and oshim are kachim, right? But Marshall messed up, and he shechted the shlamim first. So the Mishnah says that since already this shlamim was abused, because it was brought Monday and it was left over to Tuesday, so it was already snubbed. Therefore, when you slaughtered it on Tuesday, we let you finish it and then do the oshim and the chatas. But hadiyayim dumya de'emesh, but if it was today's shlamim similar to yesterday, ve'echi dami, what does it mean? That he b'kadim shachtei l'shlamim, what happened was he didn't bring it the day before. He brought it on that day, and he shechted the shlamim first. There we would say, no, you don't finish the shlamim, but you give it to one who mixes it in a bowl, and chatas v'ashim kadmei. The chatas and ashim come first. So you see that if we did it wrong, right? So we don't finish what we did wrong, but that which is more kaddish, we let the shlamim be mixed in a bowl, and we do the chatas and ashim. Says the Gemara, well, that would be one way to learn, but it's not mukhrach to learn that way. Dilma shlamim de emesh v'chatas v'ashim diyoim heichni mishkachsa. What does it mean, shlamim of yesterday and chatas of ashim of today? The shachtinu l'travayu. It's talking about that you brought the shlamim to the Beis Hamikdash on Monday. You shunned it, and you kept it over till Tuesday, and then you shechted both of them. You shechted the shlamim, and you shechted the chatas and the ashim. You shechted both of them, and both bloods are ready for zrika. So in that case, we say that since you already shunned the shlamim from the day before, we sprinkle the blood of the shlamim first. But if you didn't shecht both of them, right, you only shechted the shlamim, and the chatas and ashim are still alive, there taka tibayalach. There the shaila would be, what do? Do you say that you finish off the shlamim, or do you say you give it to the mamares and then shech the ashim and the chatas? Tajma. So now the Gemara says, well, davaracha. We learned birchas hayayin tedira. The bracha of the Bar Priagafen comes first in Kiddush before the bracha of Kiddush. Birchas hayom eina tadira, v'tader v'sheina tader kaidem. But over here, Shabbos had arrived already before the wine came out. And although Shabbos arrived already before the wine came out, we still see that we don't say that we should finish the Shabbos, but we do the tadir and we do the wine. Says the Gemara, no. The reason is because when you get around to doing Kiddush, the wine is already there. Hachanamik, the kavan, the asyan, when you get around to making Kiddush, the wine is already there. Kinman de shchite travayu dami, it's as if you shechted both of them, and there we said that it wouldn't be a question. That's not analogous to our question. And similarly, the Gemara says, Tashma, the Amar of Yochanan, again, the halacha of if Marshall forgot to daven Musaf early because he was busy with the Kiddush club, and it came to Zman Mincha, so halacha mispal adam shel Mincha, he should daven Mincha, v'ach kach shel Musafin, and only then Musaf. Now, that's even though the Zman of Musaf already started. So even though the Zman of Musaf is already started, we put it on the side and we daven Mincha. Says the Gemara, no. Hakanami kaven the mata Zman tfilas Mincha, since he didn't get around to it. He wasn't holding by davening. He was, his face was in, the kugel and the bourbon and the Romanian francs. When he got around to it, so it's like they came around at the same time, Kevin the Matazman Tfilas Mincha, when he had finally got around to davening Musaf, command Shchite Travayodami, it's as if they shechted both at the same time. So now, Amalei Rav Acha Bereder of Ashi Ravina, Tashma, what happens if you shechted the Korban Pesach before Chatzos? Now that's no good, because we know it says Bein Arboyim that the Korban Pesach has to be shechted Bein Arboyim. So Shchatay Kaidem Chatzos, puzzle. Why? Mipnei She'ama Bein Arboyim. Now, what happens though? The Korban Pesach is supposed to be done after the Tamid of the afternoon. It's one of the rare exceptions where we do something after the afternoon Tamid. So what happens if you shechted it Kaidem l'Tamid, kosher, but we don't finish off the Pesach, rather v'yei memoreis b'damai, we mix the blood, ad sheyizrek adam, until we sprinkle the blood of the Tamid. So there you see that we don't say, well, once you did the Pesach, finish off the Pesach, and then do the Tamid. But rather, since the Tamid is more frequent, we say that you should mix the blood of the Pesach, do the Tamid, and then go back to the Pesach. Says the Gemara, no. Again, there it's talking about not that you didn't do the Tamid at all. He did shech the Tamid first. And then afterwards, he shechted the Pesach. Then we say, now that you have both of them in front of you, then you should leave the Pesach in the bowl and mix it, and then do the Tamid, and then go back to the Pesach. But if you didn't shech the Tamid yet, our question would still be a question. And the Gemara says, we know that that's the case of what it was talking about by the Pesach, that the mistake was that he shechted the Tamid, and then he shechted the Pesach. How do we know that that's the case? Amalei Rav Acha, Sabal Rav Ashi, Masnisan Nami Deka. It's clear from the Mishnah that that's Pshat. The Tani Ad Sheyizrek Adam. It says that he should wait with the Pesach until he sprinkles the blood of the Tamid. It doesn't say until he shechs the Tamid and sprinkles the blood of the Tamid. V'lo ketani ad sheyishchait v'yizrek damai shmami no. That's taka a good proof. Ubekulan kahanim rashayim, we said that the kahanim could eat it in any way, sautéed, roasted, cooked, seethed, and put in any ingredients, my timer, amakra lemoshcha, as royalty, meaning the gedula, as great people eat, kederach shemalachim oichlin, the way kings eat in any way that they want. I want to say what a Kiddush Hashem it is. Hanukkah is a very hard time to fit in time for a shir. I know that's a fact from all the years that I'm giving shiurim. Hanukkah is just, there's just, our children beckon, and it's hard to navigate. And we have 28 Zoomers. It's really a big Kiddush Hashem. I want to welcome in Barish Gesserman and Mel Zachter, Mo Kushner, Shimon Klein, Dr. Guy, Yisrael Fisher, Shalom Fogel, Yaakov Warman, Marshall Castle, Dr. Black, Chapler, Saba, Eddie Chazan, Nitzi Fuchs, Barry Cement, Rabbi Kranz, Shelley Zeitlin, Dr. Udell, Dr. Eisenberg, Stephen Holtzman, Richard Rosenzweig, Elia Yaffe, Yitzi Muller, Danny Vogel, Avram Rezepkowitz, Yeshua Shmuel Eisenberg, Ilya Shutman, and here, holding down the fort, the lone man in the shul is Michal Avram Chavin, sitting here with the Hanukkah candles, and of course all those that are watching on Torah Anytime and on YouTube, and listening on Koloshin and all the other places that carry the shir. Let me, by the way, mention that last night after our Tu Blat and the Mishnah Yomis, I did go to Tom's River and give a special Hanukkah shir, and as Yitzi Fuchs asked, that shir is on Torah Anytime. It's called Hanukkah and the Home with a short Q&A, 5786. So that's there on TorahAnytime.com. What?
Ready for recording it.
Yeah. Also, there's another very short shir that I said between Mincha and Mar before the Mishnah Yomis called the Chanukah Shechiyanu, so you can check that out as well. Now we learned the new Mishnah. Amar Rabbi Shimon, Im ro'isa shemen shu mischalik ba'azara. If you see that they're doling out oil to the Kehanim in the Azar. Now, why would they be doling out oil to the Kehanim? Ein sarach lishol mao. You don't have to wonder what it's from. It could only be from two things. It could only be elamaisa rekike minchas Yisrael. In the mincha of the Mafat Tanner, there were two types of loaves. Half of it was wafers, rikikin, and those rikikin only needed oil to be smeared on it like the Greek letter ki. The rest of the oil was given out to the kahanim. And v'loik shemen shel mitzayir, after the kohen did with the loik shemen, spraying it towards the oil moed 7 times and putting it on the right toe and the right thumb and the right lobe of the ear, the rest of that oil went to the kahanim. Now, imro isa shemen shunitin al gabe ishim. If you see oil that's put on the fires, ein tzarich lishol ma'u, elamoyser rikike minchas kahanim. It's the remainder of the wafers of the minchas kahanim, because minchas kahanim are all burnt on the fire. Or minchas kohen Mashiach, or the remainder of the oil of the kohen Mashiach. They're the anointed kohen that brings every day minchas chavitin, half in the morning and half in the afternoon. So there was a remainder of oil from that, and that was given out. There was a remainder of oil from that, and since it belongs to a kohen, again it goes on to the fire. Now, because there could be no other reason why oil is given out in the Azara, she'ein misnadvin shemen, because there's no donation of oil. You can't just donate oil. Rabbi Tarfon disagrees. Rabbi Tarfon says misnadvin shemen. You could give a donation, as we'll see from that donation. You take a kmitza, and the remainder goes to the Kohanim. Let's see it on Amid Beis. Amar Shmuel, L'divrei Rabbeinu Tarfon, according to the opinion of Reb Tarfon, and let's have in mind on this Chanukah where we really show this is what Chanukah is all about. Latkes are nice, Afghaniyot are nice, but Chanukah celebrates that they wanted Lashkicham Torah Isecha. They wanted to wipe out Torah. They did not want to annihilate us. It wasn't Purim. They wanted to Hellenize us and wipe out Torah. And we won. What we're doing here shows that we won. So Amar Shmuel, L'divrei Rabbeinu Tarfon, HaMisnadev Shemen, if let's say Bruce offers a nedava of Shemen, Kaimtzai, they take a kmitza from it, put it on the Mizbeach, V'shirav Necholin, and the remainder is eaten by the Kohanim. My timer. Amar Kra, there's an extra word, Korban Mincha. What's the Korban? That's an extra word. Malamed Shemisnadvin Shemen. It comes to tell you that you could dedicate oil. And it has the same mechanics as a mincha. V'chi mincha. Ma mincha koimtza, you take a kmitza from it, v'shirea nechalin, and the remainder is eaten. Af shemen, so also oil, Bruce offers an adava, koimtza, the Kohanim take a handful, put it on the mizbeach, v'shirav nechalin. And Amrab Zeira Afana Nami Tanina, we learned the same. Amrab Shimon Imra Isa Shemin Shemischalik Be'azara. If you see Shemin that's being offered in the Azar, Yata Tzorch Lishol Ma'u, Ela Moiseri Kike Minchas Yisrael, it's either the remainder of the wafers, that after they smear on the wafer like the shape of a key, the Greek letter key, they give the rest to the Kohanim. V'loik Shemin Shel Mitzayra. Now, she'ein misnadvin, because the Tana Kama holds that you don't have a nedav of oil. That implies, but according to Reb Tarfon, Mechlal, the Mandiyam misnadvin, it is mischalik, like the other ones, like the Rikike and like the Shemen, it's divided out to the Kohanim. Amalei Abaya says to the opposite. See, Abaya holds that if Bruce dedicates oil, it's consigned to the fire. It's not shared by the Kohanim. Amalei Abai Ema Sefer. Imriisa Shemen Shenitin Al Gabi Ishin. If you see oil that's consigned to the fire, Iata Tzorch Lishol Ma'u, Elamaiseri Kike Minchas Kohanim. It's the remainder of the wafer of Kohanim, because remember, Minchas Kohanim, it's all put to the fire. Or Minchas Kohen Mashiach, and the remainder of the Minchas Chavitin brought every day, half in the morning, half in the afternoon, by the Kohen Gadol, which goes on the fire. She'ein misnadvin shemen. The implication is, because if you hold like Reb Tarfon that you are misnadv shemen, it's consigned to the fire, not given out to the Kohanim. Michlal d'l'man yom misnadv kulan leishin. It goes to the fires. So la'abaya kasher reisha. According to Baya, it's shver the reisha, which implies that if you hold that there is a nedava, it's shared to the Kohanim. L'Rebbe Zeira kasha seifa. Bishleima l'Rebbe Zeira, it's not shver. Reisha that says that it would be consigned to the fire if you hold that there's a shemen on the dava, that's the kmitza. Excuse me. Bishleima l'Rebbe Zeira, it's good according to Rebbe Zeira. Yeah, that which is shared with the Kohanim is the remainder, and that which goes to the fire is the kaimitz, while Seifa is the kaimitz. El Abaya, but Abaya who says that it's completely consigned to the fire. The beginning of the Mishnah that says that if you hold it's a nedava, which implied that it would be given out to the Kohanim. The reish is a kasha to Abaya. Says the Gemara, you're right. There isn't a case, according to Abaya, where Shem and Nedava would be shared. but it's just symmetry because of the Sefer. Tana Reisha at the Sefer. So the Gemara says, usually symmetry, we say there's Sefer because of the Reisha. Do we have symmetry that it doesn't really apply in the beginning, but we say it because of the end? Bishleim is Sefer, Tani Mishum Reisha. If the Reisha has to say something, so it says the Sefer to be symmetrical with the Reisha. El Reisha Mishum Sefer Mitani, is there such a thing that it says something in the beginning to be symmetrical with the end? He says, yes. It may be rather that we have such an idea, Tana Reisha Mishum Sefer. Let me teach you a little bit about this idea of symmetry. No, you ever go to a house and you see in the living room they have two nice chairs and they make sure that it goes on an angle on either side of the lamp table, and when they're setting it up they say a little bit more this way, a little bit more that way, that it should be completely symmetrical. Hashem made us symmetrical. The eyes are symmetrical to the nose, everything, the ears, the face is very symmetrical. So some learn the idea of ID is simply to make the Torah beautiful. Lahagdil Torah ulhadira. Others learn that the purpose of symmetry is in order that we should be able to remember it. Because Torah Shebaal Peh was not supposed to be written down. So by making it symmetrical, it was easy to remember. Now, Tajma, what about a nedava of wine? Let's get a good guy over here. Nachman. Nachman wants to bring a nedava of wine. What do you do with it? Tajma yayin kedivri Rabbi Kiva l'safalim. There were bowls on the side of the mizbeach, which went down to the shitin, to the underground tanks, and they poured the wine into those bowls. Shemen, oil, Kedivre Rabbi Tarfon, according to Rabbi Tarfon, le'ishim. Now that would be a raya that, according to Rabbi Tarfon, that we do it in the dava, we don't share it with the kahanim, but we put it all on the fire. My lav midiyayin kula l'safalim, all the wine goes into the bowl. Shemen kula le'ishim, all the oil is consigned to the fire, and not only the kmitza. So the Gemara says, who says? Mideir Yahakadisa Vakadisa. The wine goes completely into the bowl. The oil that Shimon donated, that oil goes, the kmitza goes on the fire, the rest go to the kahanim. So Amar Papa, and if you're looking for the place, it's the first wide line on Daf Tzadik Aleph Amid Beis. Amra Papa, ketanoi. Shemen, oil, if you donate oil, right? Shimon's a good guy, and he donates oil, lo yifchais milug. He shouldn't give less than a lug. Rabbi says, no, Shimon can't get away with a lug. Shloshes lugin, 3 lugin. But my kamifligi, one says 1 lug, one says 3 lug. Amru Rabbanan Kameidu Papa Doin Mina Umina, whether we learn out from a source and take all the halachas of the source, or Doin Mina, we learn it from a source, but then V'ukei Ba'asra, but then we take the rest of the laws from back at its home base. As the Gemara says. Remember, we learned out Minchas Nedava from Korban Mincha. The extra word carbon. Rabbanan Savrei, ma mincha misnadvin, just like a mincha you could do voluntary, af shema misnadvin, because it says carbon mincha. And he holds, doin mina. Then we learn out the rest of the halachas from mincha. O mina, ma mincha loig shemen, af kan loig shemen. O ma mincha kaimsa, we take a kmitza from it, v'shireh nechalin, and the rest is eaten by the kahanim. Af shemen, so we take a kmitza from Shimon's donation, v'shirav nechalim. V'idach, the other man the Yama holds, mimincha, we learn out from carbon mincha, ma mincha misnadin, av shemen misnadin. But now we go back to the home base. We compare it to another liquid offering, a libation. V'uke ba'asra. So it's like in the Nesachim, like libations. Ma Nesachim shloisha lugin, just like a libation. It's 3 lug. Av shemen shalosh lugin, not 1 lug. O ma Nesachim kulan l'safalin, just like a libation goes entirely in the bowl. Av shemen kulan l'ishin is consigned totally to the fire. Amalei Rapapa labaya. Imimimcha maisila. If we learn it out from mincha, maisila Rebbe, if we learn it out from mincha, then everybody, the kuliyam doin mina, everybody would hold doin mina, and the halacha would be it would only be 1 like shemen, and it would you'd take out a kmitza, and the rest would go to the kohen. Rebbe who says that it's 3 like, he learns it out me ezrach gamala. Oh no, he learns it out from a pasuk by Nesachim. It says an extra word ezrach, and therefore it has all the halachas from Nesachim. Says the Gemara, Amalei Rafuna Brei Rav Nasan Rav Papa, mi matzis amrdachi. Could you say that the Mandi Amr that holds 3 lugin holds that we learn it out from Ezra? V'tanya carbon mincha malamed shemisnad vin shemen v'kama shloisha lugin, 3 lugin. Oh, that's a problem. Because we said that the Mandi Amr that says 3 lugin learns it out from Ezra and not from carbon mincha. Oman shamet leidama shloisha lugin rebeyi v'kamaisi la mikarbon, and not from Ezra. Amalei, so he says, oh, that's, well, if it says it, it says it. Then I stand corrected. Itanya Tanya. Now, I want to just remind you, it is a big daf, but every word is a separate mitzvah saseh. And to get on Chanukah, a separate mitzvah saseh, so many mitzvahs on Chanukah,
we get a latka for each word too, right?
wow, a lot more than a latka. A lot more than a latka.
That's what that extra shaman that was donated. I got it.
You know,
Only if they're fried in olive oil.
I said in the share last night, and I mentioned it in shul, we have a big electronic billboard on the corner of Cross and 9, and it's shown a beautiful picture of, on a stick, sufganios oozing in chocolate. And the caption was, now Hanukkah is getting serious. And you know, I looked at it and I said, seriously? Is that Hanukkah getting serious? You know, I have a sufganiya dvart. The truth of the matter is until I was, I don't know, for sure not before I was married. Before I was married, I never heard of a sufganiyot. Never heard of it. Borough Park boys, never heard of a sufganiyot. Hanukkah was latkes. If you were maybe more yeshivas, so then you had a cheese plate.
Yeah.
But sufganiyot?
Deprived children.
So I thought.
You have to take a lot of reaction.
I thought that it was an Eretz Yisrael dika thing. But on the last time that I saw my Uncle Moshe, the last time before he passed away, the last time he was in America, I asked him about it. And he told me that in Salish, in Europe, on Hanukkah, on every street corner they were frying sufganiyot. And it's not a new thing. And of course the idea was it's fried. So I have a sufganiyot shot, very important shot. You see, I hold the ikar of the sufganiyot is the filling. Either a jelly one or a custard one. The ikar is. So the idea of the sufganiyot is to teach you that it's the pnimius that's the ikar. That's the idea, right? Like if Marshall has a Romanian franc in a bun, the ikar is the Romanian franc. The ikar is the pnimius.
But I better get a good bun too.
Yeah.
Is that the thing about kreplach, Rabbi White?
Yes, it is.
Right.
Yes, it is. Yeah, yes, it is. Twice a year we have kreplach.
Erev Yom Kippur.
Erev Yom Kippur and on Purim. The Lamaisa is okay. So Amar Shmuel, Hamisnadev Yayin, one who dedicates wine. Oh, he says a different pshat. He says, Mevi umazalfa yal gabe yoishim. You bring it and you spray it on the fire. You don't put it into the bowls on the side of the mizbeach. My timer. Amar krav v'yayin tikriv takriv l'naseh chatz yahin. Ishay, a fire offering, reach nichayich la'Hashem. So the Gemara asks Shmuel, but wait a second. How can you put it on the fire? There's a lav in the Torah, lo yisichbeh, that you're not allowed to extinguish the fire. V'aka mechabe, says, well, you're not going to extinguish the whole fire. You might put out a few little flames. Kiboy memixas lo yishmei kiboy. Partial kiboy is not considered kiboy. Says Gemara, and is that so? If somebody takes a coal off the mizbeach for kiba, chayiv. Says Gemara, that's talking about where that coal was the last ember on the mizbeach. The lek elahai. Iba yisema, the whole kasha is not a kasha, because it's only usher to extinguish without a good reason. Kibbutz the mitzvah, but here where you're doing it to be mekayim the mitzvah of Nesachin, Shani, that's okay. Tajma, the Tana Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov, Klape shenitna Torah litraim. Just want to check the girsa here. Tajman, the Tana Rebbe Elazar ben Yaakov. Oh, you know what? We're going to save this for tomorrow. That's what I made a plan. Save this for finishing the parak. Again, it's wonderful to have everybody here, and really a Kiddush Hashem that everybody made it to come on a Hanukkah. Everybody should have a Freilich in Hanukkah.